Well, everybody, Grand Carnival is back for the 2024 season with a lot of changes, for better or worse. Let's discuss. Hello, everybody. Alongside Don Helbig, I'm Ryan Sir, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast for Kings Island fans by Kings Island fans because that's who we are and that's who we care about.
All right. So the Festival of Colors, unlike any other, is now back, as we discussed. But there are some very big changes, and we're going to get through all of them and kind of our thoughts. And let's just start off with the elephant in the room, the biggest thing. No tasting cards this year. That
was a surprise. Yeah, that was a surprise to me because that had been such a big focus in the previous years of Grand Carnival, which was 2019, 2021, and last year.
Yeah, I actually traditionally always got tasting cards. I've actually gotten tasting cards for every event that had tasting cards since 2019 or whenever they started doing them, and really disappointed they didn't have them this year. In fact, I think that in 2019 I bought two of them. I think I bought two of the sixes just because I didn't try as much stuff as I wanted to. But what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think's going through their heads as far as no tasting cards?
Yeah, I really don't know. I was planning on getting a tasting card. When I knew the event was coming back this year, it was something that I was looking forward to experiencing, going around and, doing the different tastes from the different countries. I'm a kind of a picky eater, so it's not something that I was just going to go up to, one of the booths or, one of the restaurant locations and gamble on something. But if I had a tasting card and could just sample something, see how I liked it, that was going to be the route that I was going to go. So I really don't know. I've heard from a lot of fans, of Kings Island that, fans of the show here, they, follow me on, Facebook, Twitter, see them out in the park. And a lot of them have asked me the same question, Ryan, why no tasting cards this year?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can theorize is that because I've thought about this a lot, because none of this seems like it was a good decision. But I think the theory was that we can give you a tasting card for 6 items that cost $40 or whatever, or you could really buy 4 or 5 items at that price. And with less people doing it, we also don't have to staff as many people. But from the observation, now, as of this recording, you and I have attended 2 separate nights of Carnival. Mm-hmm. I attended opening night, which was very busy at the park. The weather was perfect. You attended the next night, which was a Sunday night, but still very, very busy. And it doesn't seem like it's working out well for them. Now, granted, sample size is small, but it's a 2-week event, and 2 days out of the 14 or so that it's running, it seems to have flopped.
Well, I mean, when I was there on Sunday night, 5:00, I'm out front. I want to check out to see, what's happening as the event was kicking off. Circled the Eiffel Tower, didn't see anybody at any of the booths that were there, whether that was the, once we could get the drink. Spain, they had a food truck, out across from Showplace. You had French Corner, and the only people in French Corner were using their dining plan in there. La Rosa's, had a line, but majority of them, they're coming out with pizza, those kind of things. So using their dining plan, or just, as families, they're getting a large pizza, whatever it was. So didn't really see, many people buying the food between like 5 and 5:30. And I used my dining plan and went ahead and got something at the French Corner, sat down, on International Street to enjoy my meal on that. But after the opening ceremony, which was at 6, circled around again, saw maybe 2 deep at any point in time at some of these locations. A little disappointed, in that, because the food looked really good. When you walked up and took a look at it, it looked really good. And then later in the in the evening, around 8:30, getting ready to watch the parade, made one more trip through before I went to my spot to watch it, at the entrance of the racer. And again, nobody really in line for it. I saw a few people with the items, but not, like you did when they had the tasting cards.
It just boggles my mind as to why this was determined to be the best possible decision. In fact, I could see them doing this the first year and then thinking, like, what if we had a tasting card and then the tasting card takes off. But to regress in this fashion is just, I just don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, and really, I don't think this is a Kings Island decision. I mean, it appears to be a corporate decision because it was the same situation at King's Dominion where they too did not have tasting cards.
But they did have them at California's Great America. So maybe it is a park level decision. We just don't know.
Don't know. But all I know is, like I said, my experience, just walking around 3 different times, never really saw, any more than 1 or 2 deep at any of the locations where you could get the Grand Carnival food. And in previous years, when there was the tasting card, sometimes those lines would be, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 people deep to get the
I remember the Spain booth that I just showed on a normal night at 5 o'clock. Well, I guess I would say 5 o'clock, but like opening ceremony got moved around and stuff previously. But it would normally have a line that would go almost to the Eiffel Tower until the last hour of the event. Then I just took a picture. That was right around 5 o'clock. Well, no, it's more like 6 o'clock. I gave it an hour. No one's in line. And on top of that, it's always seemed like it took them a few minutes to dish out the food that they were selling. So if no one's there, not only is no one buying anything, no one has bought anything in the last couple minutes too. But speaking of food, there are some highlights because over at the Sweet Spot, they do have some awesome decorated cakes.
Now that I did see people purchasing.
Yeah. So these are the cookie cakes, just like what they have for the rides. But the one on the left, obviously, is like a New Orleans, I want to say Carnival mask, but it's not really Carnival. It's Mardi Gras mask. The one on the right is a jester hat. So these are awesome. I've heard that, I haven't had one yet, but I've heard they're very delicious. So check those out at the Sweet Spot. Just fantastic deal. I think they're like $12.99 or something like that. So they're not terribly expensive, but there is an upside to it. And the Sweet Spot is definitely one of those. So really appreciate that coming out. But so when, let's move on to the other main course here. And we're talking about the parade. And so the parade thing was a little odd. The parade was very good. I want to just go ahead and say that, and really, really enjoyed that. And there was this really cool float where it had a dragon that breathed smoke, which is cool.
Oh, but yeah, I love that.
One thing that I did notice was that, unfortunately, there were some news articles that ran saying that the parade was at 7 when the parade was in fact at 9. So I did see a bunch of people lined up at 7 because that obviously wasn't competently communicated to them. But I hope those people found out their information and stuck around for it, because the parade's amazing. And I do like that. As an adult, I like that it's at 9 because the floats look so much better with the lights on. But we've had some pushback on that too.
Yeah, a little bit there with the 9 o'clock time with that. Same thing I experienced on Sunday, where there were people expecting it to be at 7 because that's what they had read. Somewhere online. I think the Cincinnati Enquirer, Dayton Daily News, one of them might have had 7 o'clock listed as the time, which was last year's information. They had it was going to run through August 5th, which was last year's information.
Yeah.
So a little bit of miscommunication there. But in terms of the nighttime, for the floats, that part of it, I like it better.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, it's a little harder to see, the performers when it's a little darker out. I know in talking to some of the guests that really enjoy taking pictures at the park, for them, they're not big fans of the 9 o'clock time with that. But overall, though, I think the parade does look better when it's at night.
Yeah, I mean, and the Christmas parade, the Winterfest parade, is another good example of how good the parade, the floats and stuff look at night. But as we mentioned, we both saw people line up at 7 because it was incorrectly reported that it was going to start at 7, which was last year's information. But kind of an interesting thing, and this just shows like how being disambiguous does make the guest experience suffer. But they had posted on their website, on their Facebook, that they had released all the menu items. But when you click the link that they supplied, it said menu coming soon. But if you scroll all the way down, it would have a PDF that you could download of the menu. But also there were no show times. It said show times coming soon, or that it's no mention or anything. and I replied on their Facebook saying like, "Hey, I've heard the parade starts at 9. It starts at 7. What's the deal with that?" Of course, they, as they have a tendency to do, they didn't bother to reply to me. But
I get
Maureen,
the same thing, Ryan. If I was to
yeah,
reply or ask a question or something, there's no response there for
yeah,
me
it's funny
either.
how one of their cornerstones is inclusion, but you and I are not included, and one of their cornerstones is integrity. But yeah. Anyway, so Maureen Kaiser, who they have no idea who that is because the above mentioned, replies saying like, "Yeah, I kind of want to know when the parade is too," and they didn't even bother to tell her. They said, "Look in the app." Well, first of all, the app is almost never updated with the correct time, so people are not trained to do that. Secondly, she asked a question. You should bother to give her an answer. It's your job to do that, okay? So fortunately, somebody else behind her did the communications job for them and said, just give them the answer. The parade's at 9 and the show's at this time. So thankfully, somebody that's not on the payroll was doing the job of the people on the payroll this time. But with the fact that, it was miscommunicated to the media or not communicated to the media and, very carelessly done, there were people lined up for the parade at the wrong time. Maybe they thought the parade wasn't happening for some reason. Maybe they left. Maybe they were disgruntled. Maybe they'll never come back. That's the result of not competently communicating
Now
things
let's
out.
mention you mentioned the name Maureen, who had asked a question that they just got the check the app. Uh, she does have ties to Kings Island, and she had preceded me as the PR person at Kings Island, before I went there. But yeah, it was just kind of odd, like you said, they're not going to respond to you. They get a vague answer, check the app to Maureen, and it takes someone else to come in and kind of explain it for them when it would have taken 2 seconds to just say, "Hey, Maureen, thanks for your interest. The parade starts at 9."
Well, the thing is, they bothered to type out like, "Hi, Maureen, thanks for your question," and it's like you could have just answered the question. We don't have to be cute with the little wavy emojis and stuff. Just answer the question. That's all your job is to do when you're in communications is communicate. If you can't handle that, then maybe you should be taking tickets. Regardless, the yeah, Maureen was the PR person before you. I can only I haven't spoken to her about this. I do talk to her irregularly, but I can only imagine she was just like her jaw hit the floor when she was told like, "Oh, check the app for the times," when she asked a specific question, because that's just poor customer service. And again, it's because of things like that why people are lining up at 7 for the parade instead of 9. But
Yeah, and we both witnessed that.
yeah, we both did. So good job on that. And I will say this. You and I know by proxy a lot of the tech people, the choreographers, and all of those people. You guys all the decor people. All these people work so hard. So for all the people that are in the parade that worked so hard for this stuff, where people lined up at 7 and gave up and left and didn't get to see what you had worked so hard on, you deserve better. Decor team, you were there all night for 2 weeks putting up the decor. For all the people that came to the park that had no idea why there were beads anywhere because it wasn't properly communicated, again, you deserve better.
I thought the decor looked the best that it has for this event.
The decor looks better every year, and it's A+. And again, the fact that people were showing up, and I witnessed people saying like, "Why are there beads everywhere?" You should know that. So to all those people, for those teams, and I know that they're there till 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, whatever. I've had jobs like that before. I know how horrible it is. I know what a passion project it is. So thank you for what you do. The park looks great.
Yeah, the park looked great with the decor. A+ there, A+ for the parade.
So did you check did you see the opening ceremony?
I did.
What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, it's watered down from what it had been, when the event launched in 2019, and then again when it was back in 2021 when I saw it then. They used to have when they would come in, they'd come in from the Eiffel Tower, from behind that and walk down and, come right down the middle onto the stage. They had the drummers, they had, the stunts, stunt people and that doing their things. So it's a little bit watered down, but I thought maybe back then too, maybe it was a little bit too long when it opened up. So I think, shortening a little bit, I think was an improvement there. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was well done.
I think they should cut it when they shoot the confetti, the streamers, because at that point when they do the countdown and shoot the streamers, people have a tendency to walk away. And it just kind of makes it awkward. I think they should have just terminated at that point. But yeah, I think the length is good at that point.
Now, there was a lot going on before, and then you had all those different. They would break off and go to their different areas and do different shows there. They had the characters of the different places. So there was a lot more going on at the beginning. But I will say, I did see the different characters in the different countries, kind of out and mingling with people. I thought that was good.
Yes.
But you just didn't have the show, you didn't have the, in China, you didn't have the acrobats and things doing their thing over there. You didn't have, in Italy, you didn't have someone, over in that corner singing and things like that. So there's a lot less involved with the event, so it's definitely watered down from what it was, not as immersive in 2019. But overall, though, I mean, really, it's still a spectacular event.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very good event. It's better than last year. Last year was bad because remember, if you recall, the opening ceremony at 6 and then the parade at like 7 or 7:30. So basically, the characters, the performers showed up. They did the opening ceremony. They whisked backstage. They came back after the parade. Then they left. So you're right. I mean, it was nice seeing like, the I don't know what the girl version of Lederhosen is. But the girls from Germany wearing the stilts and there were French
from the
chefs
Best
and
House
stuff like
night,
that. So it definitely I don't think they'll ever be able to do 2019 again. And honestly, I don't know if they should, because
I think it might have been a little bit too much then. And sometimes too, you find out, you get your research and what worked, what the guests enjoyed the most. And you kind of take it from there, the following years and that, and just kind of the event's always going to evolve from what it was at the start. You just throw a lot of things, darts on the wall, on the board a little bit at the beginning, and then you just kind of, figure it out and modify the event. But I think what they have right now, is very, very good.
Yeah. I mean, 2019, for those of you who didn't get to attend, they did the opening ceremony wasn't nearly as good. Everybody marched in with the flags. They did the streamers, but there wasn't the song and dance number, if I recall, or at least not as organized as it is now. They split off into their countries. There was entertainment in every country. The only one that went over though was in China. They had the girls like kicking the barrels with the bottoms of their feet. We'll have to find footage or something, but it was a strange. But that got a huge crowd. But there was the German band that people seem to watch in passing. There was the Indian drummers when they hit India in the Tower Gardens, which nobody was watching. You said there was a singer in Italy.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
So maybe people.
That's what I mean. That. Like you watch it and you see what guests are are taking in, what they're enjoying, and just kind of make your decisions from there. And if nobody was really watching these different acts and that throughout the event, then why do it, right? So just put all your focus in what the guests do enjoy and just enhancing it there. And that's what I felt that during my experience with it on Sunday was that they've taken what was working really well in 2019, 2021, and they've enhanced those areas.
I like how you omitted 2023 because that was not a good Grand Carnival. Don't get me wrong. Again, all the people involved, you did a great job, but the cuts were very much felt. But it was very, very relieving this year to see a lot of that stuff back. But so Don, we're gonna play a game here. Let's determine together this year. We'll base it on 2024. Each category, if it's Grand Carnival or Bland Carnival. So category 1. Food. Now, let me tell you this. I've heard the food is very good. The tasting cards, this is not a referendum on the taste of the food, but without the tasting cards, it completely eliminates that from the event. I'd say Bland Carnival. How about you?
Well, I'm gonna have to go Bland too, because without the tasting card, I'm not inclined to sample the food. The food does look amazing. The pictures look good that I've seen. Just walking up to the different locations that have these items, I mean, they look great. The French Corner, when I went in there to use my dining plan, they had samples out, what it was going to look like. It looks amazing, but without having that opportunity to sample them, you're right. We have to kind of lean toward the bland. We're not talking about the quality of the food, as Ryan mentioned. We're just talking about the experience because we weren't inclined to do it because there was no tasting card.
Yeah, I mean, if they had tasting cards, I would have bought probably the bigger one, the 10, if that was it, 9 or 10, and I would have sampled 3 or 4 things. I would have had an opinion, but I probably won't be. I mean, there might be something that catches my eye. I'm not swearing it off or boycotting it. I'm just saying that the temptation's there with a tasting card, and without a tasting card, I'll use my meal plan. All right. Let's go to opening ceremony. Grand Carnival or Bland Carnival?
Grand.
Okay. I agree with you. I miss the drummers, but to be honest with you, I had forgotten about them until you mentioned them to me. So I guess I don't miss them that much. But I like the opening ceremony. I like the countdown. I like the streamers always go very, very well. And Grand Carnival is a streamer event, as we've come to find out. But very much enjoy it. Let's go with decor.
Grand.
Yeah, the decor is the best it's ever looked. They do a great job. What about the environment of the park?
I think the environment on International Street, the vibe, I'll go with Grand.
I'm going to go with Bland. And the reason why is because in 2019, they did that thing where they had kind of like a dance party and they had all the spotlights and stuff going. And the energy on International Street was Magic Kingdom-like in a lot of cases. And they haven't done it since. So to me, that's something that I always look forward to maybe seeing come back. And I haven't seen it come back. So I'm going to give the environment Bland. But with that being said, it's miles above where it was last year because at least you have the walk around characters. Spectacle Color Parade, Grand or Bland?
I'm going with Grand, and I'm going to add something else here too. They've rerouted it, from the last time that I had seen it.
Yes.
And it goes behind the Eiffel Tower now. So with the rerouting, I started. My first location was the entrance area of the racer, right where it kind of makes the turn there. I find that to be a really good spot because you see it coming down towards you and then it turns. And if you're taking pictures, you get the Eiffel Tower in the background of that. So I loved it there. So as soon as it left that spot, I was able to cut through behind the Grand Carousel. And as I got up there, it was just about ready to make its way behind the Eiffel Tower. So I saw it a second time right there. No show stops in that part of it. So it moves through a little bit quicker. And then after it passed me there, I was able to go up. Leaving the park would be the right-hand side, the Starbucks side of International Street, and was able to get a spot on the side of the street there, and then saw it coming back down past me where it ended. So I actually got to see the parade 3 different times. So, and just from each of those different spots, you see different things. But overall, I mean, they gave me a good evaluation of it, and I feel really good about giving it a Grand score.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was more excited than anybody else that the parade was going to be at 9 because I like to see the floats in the dark. Now, one thing I will say is the whole thing of the parade terminates on International Street boggles my mind as to why there isn't a better solution, because it's on the parade route. So basically, if you're standing in front of the end of the Emporium, then the parade comes to you. It does the show stop, and then you don't see any more of the parade because all the performers get off and they go to where they need to go, and then the floats go driving off. So I think that what they should do is make it so they do the show stop. From there, they go a little bit further out, at least bypass International Street, and then from there, like maybe terminate the parade, because it's not necessary to have it loop all the way back. But I think that the people standing in front of, the very end of the Mercantile, sorry, not the Mercantile, that's during Winterfest, the Emporium, there's no indication there that they don't really get to see the parade. So I think that that's kind of a weird decision. And I can't believe we're 5 years into these parades now and they haven't done anything about it. But so Don, let's go with the closing ceremony. So in previous years, it had a bunch of characters that came up and sang the song and so on. Last year, it was just the cast of the show, which I thought was kind of lame. But with this year's closing ceremony, Grand Carnival or Bland Carnival for the closing
I like
ceremony?
I like Grand. I thought it was a nice way to kind of cap off the event and get everybody ready for Under the Stars.
But so Don, we've got the Spectacle of Color parade. So those floats look really good. But if you wanted to look really good at Kings Island, what would you wear?
Tower Topics T-shirt. I am wearing
Mm.
one right now, and you can get one if you're a fan of the show. Just $22. It includes shipping. Comes in whatever size you would need. Just takes a matter of days to get it sent to you after you make your purchase. You can do that. We do it through Venmo. We'll send you the QR code if you're interested. Just send us a direct message on our X, which is Tower_Topics.
Yeah. So just shoot us a message. $22 includes shipping. Very, very cool. All right. We'll be right back with the listener questions. First listener question from Amy M. Here's a listener question I've been thinking about. Why isn't there any entertainment in the water park? A beach-themed music show or a get wet game show or something. I used to really enjoy the performers at the beach, and it contributed a lot to the atmosphere. So the beach had reggae Sundays, which did sell tickets. Local reggae groups.
There's been different times they've had different types of entertainment that out at Soak City, over the years, and I think you make a good point here. It would definitely add to the atmosphere if there were different things going on out there. But we do see, some of the show venues not, being filled. They're dark for significant portions of the season. So if they're not going to be able to do that, they're certainly not going to be able to, add extra entertainment out in Soak City Water Park. But I do like the idea of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen in the past 10 or 15 years, every time they just wait for the water park to get a new name, then it'll get a show. That's how it works. Because when it became Boomerang Bay and when it became Soak City, those times it was like they ended up getting like a steel drum band and stuff like that, which lasts for about a season, and then the focus comes off of the water park and they lose that entertainment budget.
There used to be those like they call them like the Island Nights they used to have too out there. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's been different things.
I remember the Island Night. We'll have to do an episode looking back on the Island Nights, but I just remember I went to that and it was freezing. But it was like the middle of July, but once the sun goes down, it gets 8, 9 o'clock. You get out of that water, you're so cold. So I agree more can be done at the water park, but as we are very well aware, they're adding to the water park for 2025. So maybe we will see something like that because the focus will be shifted back to the water park. Next listener question. Roger W. Thuzy in Erlanger, Kentucky. If the Beast dropped the trims, would it win the golden ticket for the best wooden roller coaster?
Well, it would certainly be in the argument, I think. It's certainly a different ride if the trims were dropped. Now, not many people have had an opportunity to experience it that way. Now, when they had the skid brakes back in the day, 1979 to 1990, there were different times where I had an opportunity to get a brakeless Beast ride. Sometimes you would get that in the morning if you were back there with the Ace Walk back and you got on the ride by 9:50, 9:55. Sometimes those weren't set yet for the day and you would get that. And it was a totally, like I said, just totally different experience when the Beast was brakeless. But since the trims were added in 1991, those opportunities, haven't been there. But if they were to drop those, it would certainly elevate the Beast to an all new level.
Yeah. That was a way more thorough answer than he was looking for, I think. But yeah, the thing though is that the trims are there for a reason. And especially when you rode the Beast, it was 20 years younger than it is now. Now, granted, like gravity group, precision cut, and so on, we can have that argument. But without trims, I think the ride would be probably pretty violent too. So it also might hurt its chances. I've ridden it one time as a kid, and I think it was the same situation as you, is where the skids were not on yet. It was cold and rainy that day, so maybe they pulled them entirely. And I remember riding it, and we breezed through that brake station over by where the Orion turnaround is now. And especially that turn going towards the second lift hill was just like, you just rib cage the side of the train.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would help or not. I mean, it would be kind of cool in some regards, but those are usually there for a reason. They're kind of a bummer, but but that's a good question, Roger. But Hey, I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.